been one incredible ride for Samsung so far. In one fell swoop, they generated a ton of interest when they introduced the Samsung Galaxy S6 and the S6 Edge earlier this year. Now, is it riding high on that momentum? Samsung is the first major player out of the gate to announce and deliver its competing phone for the upcoming holiday season. Last year, the Note 4 managed to receive universal acclaim for its impressive performance and being the Swiss Army knife of smartphones. While it's almost certain that its successor is going to be yet another solid offering, we've seen a shift in the space of late. We now have sub-$300 phones with incredible performances, offering a ton of value in the process. Perhaps this new phone can muscle the competition to prove that it's still an undisputed pound-by-pound champion. Hey guys, John V from PhoneArena. You're watching our video review of the Samsung Galaxy Note 5. With the Note 5, we now have a phone in series with a premium design language, one that combines metal with glass for that ultimate fusion. In the process, however, they've shed the sophisticated look of the Note series for one that's more fashionably stylish. Our eyes are once again mesmerized by the dazzling look of the phone, where tilting it at a certain angle brings out its color even more. Add to that, the metal trim bezel adds integrity to the phone's construction. We're also astounded by how they're able to trim out the fat even more from its body, making it skinnier, lighter, and easier to handle. Now, while we applaud its new design language, the glass makes the phone feel a little bit fragile, and it's prone to fingerprints, and it's also slippery as well. There are also drastic changes to the Note 5's arsenal. Gone are the classic staples in the series, such as a removable battery, the micro SD card slot for storage expansion, and an IR blaster for being a universal remote. It's really tough to overlook that, but whatever the reasonings behind it, the Note 5 forgoes having them in favor for a more premium design, and that's obviously the biggest trade-off right there. Still, you do get things like rapid charging via its micro USB port. You also have built-in wireless charging, you have a heart rate sensor, and also a fingerprint sensor. It uses the same fingerprint sensor as the S6, so that's easier to operate than last year's hit-or-miss operation. And then we have the S Pen. It's still tucked away in the lower right corner of the phone, but employs a new auto eject mechanism. Its placement, in our opinion, is better suited at the upper right corner, but we suppose it will feel a little bit more natural over time. For the most part, its purpose is still unchanged. It's still sensitive enough to recognize varying degrees of applied pressure, and also acts as a useful navigational tool by hovering it over the display. No one does the stylus like Samsung, that's just the undeniable reality. Samsung didn't change the specs of the display with the Note 5. It's still a 5.7-inch 1440 by 2560 Super AMOLED display and still delivers a number-crunching 518 pixels per inch pixel density count. It's still exceptionally sharp and highly detailed, but beyond that, we get this feeling that we're dealing with the same display found in the Note 4. And why is that? Well, its 470 nit luminance is a hair better than last year, while its color temperature remains similar as well at 6700 Kelvin. That's close to the perfect reference value of 6500 Kelvin, which means we're dealing with a neutral tone panel, so it's not overly warm or cold in tone. And finally, it has the same color reproduction as the Note 4's display. That's a good thing because it means that colors are realistic and true to life. All these qualities point to the undeniable truth that we're dealing with the same display. Well, there might not be any notable improvements with the display, but it just simply reaffirms Samsung's expertise when it comes to making displays with near-perfect qualities. Less is more. That's the approach Samsung's been targeting since the unveiling of its latest TouchWiz UI experience with the Galaxy S6 earlier this year. And thus far, it's been well received for its slimmed-down offering. The Note 5 follows in keeping only the relevant features intact with its TouchWiz UI experience, but it's mainly separated by its specific S Pen features. Now, before we get onto that, let's first spend a little bit of time talking about the visuals. On the surface, it has the same features from before, which include things like that neat parallax-like effect with the wallpaper. You have downloadable themes as well, a one-handed mode, and multi-window for true multitasking. However, when you look at it closely, it reveals that there's a subtle facelift to the icons. They're slightly more rounded, and that's about it. With the S Pen, it's greeted with some enhanced features. The auto eject mechanism means that the S Pen is spring assisted. Pull out the S Pen while the phone is locked, we can write down a memo. I wonder why it took this long for this feature to come out, but certainly useful in getting ideas jotted down quickly. Air Command has been enhanced to stay on longer on the screen whenever the S Pen is pulled out while the phone is on. And another new useful feature is being able to write on a PDF. We can edit, annotate, and even save PDF files. This finally offers us a hassle-free way of signing important PDF files on the go. And lastly, its new scroll capture feature allows us to mark and capture a screenshot of the entire content of a lengthy page, such as like a Google Maps direction or a story on a website, so you can view it for offline viewing later on. Running on top of Android 5.1.1 Lollipop, the Note 5 with the latest TouchWiz UI offers a comprehensive experience that power users desire. From the core Lollipop features to the extensive stuff offered by its S Pen, the Note 5 is truly the workhorse in Samsung's stable, giving users the power to get stuff done. Like I said, it's quite functional without having all the redundancies that we found with previous versions of TouchWiz, so the experience is rather satisfying on several levels. The Note 5 employs the same processing hardware used by the existing S6 line, so it ships with the latest Exynos 7420 system chip. It's an octa-core chip with 4 Cortex-A57 cores running it up to 2.1 GHz, and 4 more power-efficient A53 cores clocked at up to 1.5 GHz. What's different though is that it's the first phone from Samsung's camp to be packaged with 4 GB of LPDDR4 RAM. It runs just as quick and snappy as the S6 line, so that means scrolling between the home screen is smooth, apps launch instantly, and its performance is accompanied with buttery responses. On the graphics side, the Mali T760 MP8 GPU makes an appearance again, delivering acceptable results for a phone with a Quad HD resolution. Although it's not class-leading in the GFX bench test, we have to remember that it's contending with Quad HD resolution, so it's not able to achieve the higher frame rates produced by the HTC One M9 or the Apple iPhone 6. Then again, neither of those phones are dealing with such a pixel-dense screen. Samsung Galaxy Note 5 features a 60-megapixel main camera with optical image stabilization, while up front there's a 5-megapixel selfie shooter. In terms of the optics, you now have an impressively wide f1.9 aperture lenses on both the rear and front cameras, which is a big theoretical advantage for low-light shots. The camera app is largely the same solution as on the Galaxy S6, with 2 modes being the big highlight. You have the auto mode that is self-explanatory, and the manual Pro mode. The latter now can control the shutter speed on the Note 5 up to 10 seconds in fact, as well as support to capture images in RAW. Usual modes such as HDR, panorama, selective focus, slow motion, fast motion, and virtual shot all make an appearance again. But now you have video collage and a new YouTube live broadcasting mode. It's similar in premise to Periscope, but it offers better quality because it's done at a higher resolution, and that it shoots video horizontally. Leveraging the same set of gear already fashioned onto the S6, the Note 5's camera delivers outstanding photos filled with plentiful details, rich colors, and striking dynamic range to make it a generally good all-around performer. You won't miss a beat either with this camera, as running the app and snapping the image is achieved swiftly. Naturally, its best results are produced when lighting conditions are ideal, such as outdoor shots or nighttime scenes with hard lighting present. Details are undoubtedly abundant, with colors reproduced by the camera being just a smidgen saturated, but the saturation is more profound under artificial lighting. And much like everything else, we do see a dip with its quality under low light. Sure, details are a bit softer toned, but we're content that graininess and noise are kept to a minimum. It also helps too that the LED flash produces the same on the S6's camera, so it's quite effective without being too overpowering. And with the introduction of adjusting the shutter speed, this one feature is exceptionally useful for enthusiasts who want better looking low light shots. We tested it out too by slowly adjusting the shutter speed from 1 second all the way to 10 while keeping it ISO 100. We can see that the image taken with the longest shutter speed is brighter, more detailed, and doesn't have the soft look of the automatic shot. Beyond that, the Note 5's HDR mode works similarly by helping to cast a neutral exposure throughout the shot. To be fair though, it works best with high contrast scenes. And unlike other HDR modes that seem too artificial, the Note 5 doesn't go bonkers with the color saturation. And yes, it takes some good looking selfies, just as long as there's an abundance of lighting around. It's accompanied with some editing tools that offer real-time adjustment, However, we find them to be way too artificial, going as far as transforming us into anime characters. When it comes to shooting video, we have choice. You have Ultra HD, Quad HD, 1080p at 60 frames per second, 1080p at 30 frames per second, 720p, and VGA. Not to mention, we also have fast and slow motion capture in an arsenal as well. Between the various shooting modes, the only major difference here is detail. Therefore, if you want the highest amount of captured detail, it's best to go with Ultra HD recording. Aside from that, we're ecstatic to see that the Note 5 offers image stabilization to help keep things steady. You have clear and distinctive audio recording, a gradual exposure adjustment, and a pretty spot-on autofocus as well. Trust us, the camera is perhaps one of the most versatile things around, not only for the superb quality, but also for its ease of use. It's the same TouchWiz music player we're dealing with here, so there's nothing terribly different with the interface and its function. Whether it's due to the new placement on the bottom edge of the phone or something else entirely, the Note 5's audio output is less than its predecessor at 70.7 decibels. While that's still loud enough to have a commanding presence in small rooms, there's a hint of sharpness when it's set to the highest volume setting. Interestingly enough though, the Note 5 has an option for ultra high quality upscaler in the settings menu when listening to music through the headphone jack, which Samsung alleges to enhance the and upscale the audio quality for a clearer listening experience. We tried it out, but we barely noticed a difference with the quality. In fact, it seems as though it's been treated to a boost in treble and bass for a more robust tone, and nothing more. While we don't notice a tremendous difference in our experience, Samsung claims that ultra high quality audio is supported over Bluetooth on Samsung's next generation wireless audio accessories. Over on the video watching front, we have no qualms whatsoever with the Note 5's experience. It's the ideal thing for all sorts of content consumption. Of course, setting the display to adaptive mode accentuates the experience by adjusting the contrast and the color saturation of the screen for the most optimal viewing experience. And rightfully so, videos are mesmerizing and breathtaking to watch on its vibrant screen. It also wouldn't be a Samsung phone if it didn't offer its pop-up feature, allowing videos to play on top of whatever you're doing. Taking a page out of the S6 Active's playbook, the Note 5 offers an extra volume mode when having phone calls through the earpiece. Honestly though, the quality with the standard volume is pretty good and audible, but the extra volume mode indeed strengthens the tone a little bit, but the compromise is made in the hint of crackle that accompanies voices. Oppositely, the mic seems to make voices sound a bit subdued in tone, which makes it a little bit tough to discern over on the other end of the line. And finally, the speakerphone is suitable to use in noisy environments thanks to its strong output. The battery cell inside of the Note 5 is actually smaller than its predecessor. Strangely enough, the 3000 mAh battery cell beats its predecessor's result in our battery benchmark tests. It reaches an impressive 9 hours and 11 minutes from a full charge, eclipsing the 8 hours and 43 minutes produced by the Note 4's larger 3220 mAh battery. We can also test its longevity on a real-world basis since it's able to power us through a solid 1 day of use, where we've seen it at the 25% mark right before calling it quits for the day. And if that's not enough to make you forget about a battery, it only takes 81 minutes for it to get back to 100% capacity. That's just as fast as the Samsung Galaxy S6 and the S6 Edge, which have smaller sized batteries. And best of all, you also have the convenience of wireless charging. We've dissected every part of the Galaxy Note 5, and not surprisingly, it's still an incredibly advanced device that's untested in the phablet space. Performance alone proves that it's every bit capable of tangling with the other handful of heavy-handed phones that have been announced so far for the upcoming holiday season. However, it stirs up criticism for removing features that have been staple with the series, such as the removable battery, the microSD card slot, and the IR blaster. It undoubtedly lessens its value since the series has always been known to be the Swiss Army knives of smartphones. Nevertheless, it points to Samsung's new thinking of less is more. Whatever the case, those features will be missed and makes the Note 5 less versatile than its predecessor, and that's despite the new addition and features it offers. In terms of pricing, it's a jumbled mess because of the inconsistent pricing amongst the carriers. Now, just to make it simple, we'll talk about its full outright cost here. Right now, the base 32GB model sells for between $700 and $740, while the 64GB version will cost you anywhere between $780 and $840. While it's unbelievable that it's priced differently between the carriers, we can agree that the phone is expensive whatever way it's looked at. Pricing is an intriguing area because we're seeing a shift in the way phones are being purchased here in the US. This year alone, we've seen a handful of premium mid-range phones, such as the Moto G 2015 and the Asus Zenfone 2, which sheds light on this new sub-$300 category. The disparity is immense between the Note 5 and those phones, which will make you think even harder about the Note 5's starting costs. And we can't forget about some of the high-end phones that have been recently announced that are priced considerably less, like the ZTE Axon Pro and the Moto X Style. We can go on and on about all of this, but at the end of the day, the Note 5 embodies the qualities of a high-performing, high-quality smartphone. It gets the job done for a number of reasons, and pricing is a prickly subject to talk about with this phone, but you won't be disappointed in the investment you make. It's just quality however you look at it.